And now I'm going to move on to a presentation. Can we use virtual reality technology to support the well-being and quality of life for patients living with motor neuron disease? And this is from Malabika. So welcome, and let me leave, and so you can do your presentation. Thank you.
Hello and good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for this opportunity to present at the 32nd Allied Health Professionals Forum of ALS MND International Symposium 2021. My name is Dr. Malabika Ghosh. I work as the Principal Occupational Therapist at Lancashire Teaching Hospitals, where I have a clinical academic role within my neurology specialty. My topic today is can the use of virtual reality technology support well-being and quality of life in patients with motor neuron disease? And I'll be presenting emerging trends and outcomes from a funded study that I have developed and led within this service. Before I start, I would like to acknowledge the George Barton Trust, a charity based in Lancashire in United Kingdom, for funding this research study. I would also like to thank Pico Technologies for the support they provided through virtual reality technology and ongoing support with the tech. I'd like to especially thank the Lancashire and South Cumbria Motor Neurone Disease team at the Royal Preston Hospital, United Kingdom. And above all, I'd like to thank the Motor Neurone Disease Association for their constant strive to include innovation in clinical practice. Motor neuron disease is a chronic progressive disease, terminal condition with no known cure. Supportive interventions are the mainstay of treatment in this condition. And hence, our aim is to focus on maintaining the quality of life and overall well-being following diagnosis. Also, the use of technology in health improvement is an exploratory area of research. Current research evidence suggests that 1 to 5 per 100,000 population have a diagnosis of MND in the UK. And the average age range of diagnosis is between 50 to 70 years of age, although we do find patients younger as well as older than this range. And hence, we know that 50 to 70 years of age is a really productive age range. It is an age where people are still in active employment, or they lead an active functional life at home, either as a spouse, as a husband or wife, as grandparents. And hence, the diagnosis of MND can come as quite a big blow to people in this age range. There has been ample research evidence to show the role of palliative interventions in motor neuron disease. And so has been the research around the usefulness of meditation, complementary therapies, and psychological support in motor neuron disease. Virtual reality is a popular gaming technology that is increasingly being used in healthcare. Research evidence has shown that virtual reality can have major benefits in the management of, for example, pain, obesity, post-traumatic stress, and cognitive and motor rehabilitation. However, this study aims to look at the benefits of virtual reality within the motor neuron disease patient group. As you can see from the photograph, this is the head-mounted virtual reality kit. This is a technology that uses interactions between an individual and a computer-generated environment. And it ends up having stimulatory effect on senses, for example, the visual and the auditory senses. But other senses are also involved depending on the specific nature um, of the technology used. The technology can experience real life situations in a simulated environment, and hence the advantage is that it can help people go into an escape mode from the realities of daily living. The stimulating effect of virtual reality can therefore redirect a patient's attention from the distressing experiences of example, anxiety and pain. And the potential benefit of virtual reality is therefore in enhancing recovery, and this continues to be an area of growing interest and one that has room for further exploration in motor neuron disease. For this study, our primary aims were to look at the impact of virtual reality use in motor neuron disease. We were also keen to understand what were the patient perceived benefits, how they considered virtual reality to be of any benefit, or if virtual reality did not have any benefit in this client group. These were the objectives that we initially started with. Since the kit requires to be used on the patient's head, it's a head-mounted, eye-mounted kit, it was important that the patient had some prerequisites to be able to participate in the study and to be able to use the technology. One of them was the ability to tolerate wearing the head-mounted device because it had a certain weight that the patient need to support on their head. So there was a need for a good amount of head control as well as the ability to sit in an aligned, stable manner as a prerequisite for using the device. It was also required that the patient did not have any light sensitivity, any vertigo or dizziness, because that would make the use of the technology difficult. It was also important that the patients who trialed this technology had the ability to understand its use and to navigate the process of the technology, and also the ability to communicate the effect of that device through any means, for example, either through speech or through writing or through gestures. There was also sufficient hand dexterity required to support the use of this technology, and where this was absent, it was important that there was a carer present who would be able to help with the use of this device. In our experience, almost 50% of the patients did not have the hand dexterity for them to independently use this device, and hence it was essential that there was a spouse or a member of the family or a carer who would be able to support the patient in using or trialing this technology. Some of the emerging outcomes we have noted to date include that there are high rates of acceptance of virtual reality technology by people who have a diagnosis of motor neuron disease. There is a positive impact on patient well-being and a reduction in distressing feelings as experienced by people. There was also a perceived reduction in anxiety levels as reported by people. Families too reported a noticeable difference in people who managed to use the kit on a regular basis. They found that patients were calmer and a little more settled during daily living activities. There were instances of families who preferred to join in the virtual reality sharing sessions during the day, resulting in increased bonding. So, for example, we had a family of young children, 5 and 7, and they all sat down with their dad, who was the person diagnosed with motor neuron disease, and they all reported that their evenings were made very pleasurable because they had a family virtual reality time where they all bonded very well. So that was something that came from patient experience and family's experience. I would like to include here some patient experience codes that give us an idea of um, the, um, the perceived benefits that patients reported to us. One of the patients said, "Virtual reality has given me something to look forward to each day," meaning it improved the willingness to engage in daily routines. Another patient reported, "It makes me forget my problems and makes me want to do things." A third patient reported, "I can spend a few minutes every day focusing on something pleasurable." And another patient said, "Virtual reality gave me an experience similar to being on holiday. I haven't had one in a long time." This study was a funded study, and we received the go ahead to start the study just as COVID started in February of 2020. And as a result of the COVID lockdown and the stringent measures that healthcare had to take in order to protect staff as well as patients, the study had to be put on hold for a few months. However, as soon as we could start the study with the help of the hospital research and development department, we found that one of the principal benefits of using this technology was for people who were socially deprived and deprived of having the ability to go out and mingle with people or to go out into pleasurable surroundings, for example, a holiday setting or a sea setting or a cafe setting. And people commented how useful virtual reality had been, especially because of the lockdown. So that is an additional thing we have to consider when analyzing the results. Some family experience quotes include, "Thank you for introducing us to virtual reality. It has helped improve family time with the children." A spouse reported that, "My husband has never been as calm as I've seen since he's using virtual reality. Thank you." And a third person reported that, "It has given my husband purpose in his otherwise sedentary day." And I think these are quite positive quotes coming from a variety of patients and families or carers who supported patients. We also found that there were some factors that affected the uptake of this technology, especially in patients who were fully care dependent. We found that the presence of irregular care input or conditions when the amount of care time with the patient was such that their activities of daily living care needs had to be prioritized over therapeutic needs. We found that in those instances, the uptake of virtual reality technology was affected. But our understanding and experience from this field tells us that no matter what technology we use or what therapeutic modality we use, if there is no support or care support available for patients who are functionally dependent, then that can actually severely affect a patient's ability to access therapeutic modalities. We also found that when patients were functionally able, so the more independent patients, patients who were able to go out for walks, patients who were able to book a holiday and to go on family holidays, they preferred to actually go for the real thing. So they preferred to go out for a walk or go out for a family holiday rather than sitting at home and using the kit. So this gives us an idea of where to target our patients and the functional profile of targeting patients who would be most benefited from virtual reality. In conclusion, we can say that virtual reality can be a valuable supportive management option for patients with a diagnosis of motor neuron disease. It helps improve the feelings of well-being, but it also provides an occupational focus, especially when patients are functionally dependent. And I think as an occupational therapist, this is a very valuable point because a lot of the patients I see in clinical practice complain that their lives are dull because there is no meaningful occupation for them to engage in. They cannot resume the pleasurable activities. They are bereft of their pleasurable roles, for example, being a dad, being a mom, being a grandparent. So motor neuron disease, as we know, robs people gradually of the ability to be functional and to engage in meaningful daily routines as well as meaningful roles. And I think by providing an occupational focus, we provide meaning to these people. We also found that virtual reality provides patients with a choice of therapeutic interventions that can be used at any stage of the disease process. In our study, we included patients at every stage of the disease process, and we found that depending on use, we found that patients benefited irrespective of the stage of their condition. We also think that health professionals can play an important role in the supportive management of patients with motor neuron disease because they can help people access some of the supportive management techniques that are the cornerstone of practice in motor neuron disease. And hence, I think we come to some important conclusions as a result of this study. Considering the significance of supportive management in motor neuron disease, this study adds value to the essential role health professionals can play in caring for people with motor neuron disease. And with that, I would like to come to the end of this presentation. These are my references. And thank you very much for your time. And I would like to take any questions you may have. Thank you.
Thank you. Malabika, are you
there? Yes.
Thank you for such a fascinating and interesting presentation. That's really, really fantastic. There was a lot of chat in the chat box. There are the main themes. There are quite a few people. I've got time for two very quick questions. Firstly, a lot of questions is, what were they watching?
So the advantage with this technology is that depending on the needs and likes and dislikes of the patient, you can tailor some of the content. So you can have anything from a meditation session, for example, where there is like soft music or the sound of gurgling water and a beautiful surrounding. So a lot of our videos were around meditation, and they were also around, for example, a city scene where a person could be sitting in a cafe in a 3D format. It's as if you're actually sitting in a cafe and watching the world go by. So, these are experiences people don't have once they have a diagnosis of motor neuron disease. So, I think it is something that gives them almost a real life experience from the comfort of their own homes. So yes, it can be tailored depending on the needs of the patient.
That's extraordinary and such another huge concept. And I'd like you to, if you can, look at the chat after, because it ties in very nicely with some of the presentations from yesterday from UCL and the students and the work they're doing, which would be very lovely for you to get in touch with them about. And the one very quick question that many people are asking about, how much does this cost?
So the cost is not high. It used to be high a few years ago because the technology was new, but today you can buy a set from anything from 150 pounds to, something that costs 3,000 pounds. It all depends on the kind of head-mounted set you use and the kind of programs that are there. The better the programs, the more the choice of programs, the more the cost. But there are also a lot of free programs, so it can be as inexpensive as any gadget can be.
That's really kind. Thank you so much for your presentation. Please look in the chat because there are a lot of questions and a lot of comments, and hopefully you'll be able to answer some of those as in the question and answer box too. There's quite a lot of questions. I wonder if you'll be able to do that offline. But thank you so much for your presentation. Absolutely.
Thank you, Rachel. Thank you.
Thank you.